Today is Tuesday, July 6, 2021, and I lied. I mean, I didn't mean to lie. If you say something is going to happen and then that thing turns out to not happen and it's kind of out of your control, are you really lying or were you just wrong? I guess I was just wrong. It's just me today. That's what I'm getting at. And guess what? We're talking hoops. Welcome to Derapy, Season 2. I've been hesitant to talk about hoops for some time now because every single time I try and talk hoops, I end up being wrong about everything. Like when I expect LeBron to have a big game, or I expect the Mavericks to move on, or I expect the Heats and Bucks series to be the best series, or when I say that whoever wins the Bucks and Nets series is probably going to go on to win the finals. Like there's just... Look, the NBA is unpredictable, especially in the playoffs, and like it's not my fault that everybody is getting injured all the time. Like, that's out of my control. Same thing with me saying that I would have a guest on for today's session. I didn't know that it wasn't going to work out. So, just a little bit of backstory. Yesterday, I actually did record with a guest or a few. However, when I go back and listen to the audio, not only is it not my best work, but it's also... the quality of the audio isn't like pristine. So I'm not going to say that that episode will never air, will never be published, but I do want this episode to be like special because I've been talking for the past couple weeks, the past month, a lot about this upcoming NBA Finals. And game one of the NBA Finals is today. So it's really important for me looking back on this to make sure that the episode that I put out today, Tuesday, July 6, 2021, is something I'm very proud of. So, first of all, I hope you get the title. You've heard of the expression, deer in headlights, and the Bucks are playing the Suns. So, just think about it. It makes sense, right? Like, it's good. You like it. You can't respond. Don't worry about it. So, first I want to talk about the Suns. Who would have guessed it that the Suns would be in the finals? Now, funny enough, back in April, I was just, throwing money around at any old team trying to see, what would stick. So I put $1 on the Suns to win the finals. And now if they do, I get like $20 for it, which is crazy. If I had known that they would actually make it, then I could have put $10 on there and I would have made 10 times as much. So I would have come out with $200 because I'm just nice like that. But realistically speaking, when the season began, and the guys I was talking to yesterday, everybody said the Lakers and Nets will be in the finals. Everybody. And everyone was extremely confident that the Nets would win the finals. And I think that's kind of obvious. It's not super fun to talk about the fact that once Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving get together, it's essentially going to be a cakewalk. But the fact of the matter is, like, we all have eyes. You don't have to talk about sports for a living to understand that some teams are just too good. It's so funny to think back when the Warriors got together. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Clay, Draymond. People used to talk about, chemistry. Who knows if it's going to work? It takes more than just talent. You can't just throw talent together and win. Yeah, they smoked everybody for 2 years straight. And they were going to win a third year straight. But then, injuries. So the Suns, we did not expect them to be in the finals, but they have somebody named Devin Booker. The craziest thing about Devin Booker to me is the fact that he's younger than me. Do you ever think about that? Like when you're listening to a musician or you're watching an athlete, now we're at the age, if you're listening to this, you're probably around my age, where you see people doing incredible, astounding things that they get paid millions and millions of dollars for, and you're just sitting here. It's just crazy to me. Granted, I could practice 8 hours a day, every day, for the next 5 years straight, and still not be half as good as the worst player in the NBA, because I'm simply too small. I wasn't made for it. God, when he was putting me together, was like, this kid will not hoop. I promise you. But that's the thing. Devin Booker, he was made to hoop. And he's 24. His birthday's in December, so I'm going to turn 25 before he does, and he is in the NBA Finals today. Like, that's crazy. But Devin Booker, he could be renamed Devin Buckets, and it would be just as accurate. He is a scoring machine. He's incredible. He's been known to put up 30 or 40 on any given day. I also want to talk briefly about Jay Crowder because Jay Crowder is probably going to be Giannis's primary defender because Giannis, he is basically like what prime LeBron used to be. Like, if you were bigger than him, then he's faster than you. And if you're faster than him, he's bigger than you. And that's the problem with Giannis, but Giannis can't shoot. But I think a lot of it's psychological. How we had P.J. Tucker guarding Kevin Durant. We know P.J. Tucker can't actually guard Kevin Durant, but it's just the mentality. P.J. Tucker thinks that he can. So it's just a matter of knowing that you're probably going to get scored on, but actually, just stepping up to the challenge. Chris Paul. I'm so happy for Chris Paul. And I don't want to hear about how he cakewalked to the finals and how every round he had an injured player, injured Anthony Davis, injured Jamal Murray, injured Kawhi, and now he's going to play like an injured Giannis. Look, you just play who's in front of you. It's not up to him. It's not his fault. All he has to do is go out there and play his best game, be who he is, and you can't work. Because we do this every single year, by the way. Every single finals, we're like, oh, well, if this person wasn't injured, then you... Yeah, I know. If the Nets weren't injured, they'd probably be here. But guess what? Last year, if the Heat weren't injured, it probably would have gone 7 games. The year before that, if the Warriors weren't injured, then Kawhi might not have won. Like, 2017 and 2018, we know, super team, blah, blah, blah. But in 2016, if Draymond didn't get suspended and Bogut wasn't injured and Curry didn't have a messed up hand, then maybe the Cavs wouldn't have come back down 3-1. In 2015, if Love wasn't injured and Kyrie wasn't injured, then maybe the Cavs... we do this every year, okay? Stop acting like it matters. If the Suns come out and win, no one's going to... I don't think anybody that I respect is going to come out and say, oh, it's a cubic zirconia ring, it's a Mickey Mouse ring, it's not real, there's going to be an asterisk by it. It's not their fault that other teams get injured, and they had to deal with injuries themselves. Chris Paul had to deal with a shoulder problem of his own. Cameron Payne, he had like this twisted ankle that he had to deal with. Everybody deals with injuries, so I don't want to hear it. The Suns are here, Booker's going to hoop, Crowder's going to play some great D and probably hit some threes here or there. And Chris Paul is going to be the point guard, and hopefully he's going to get his. But first, we're going to talk about the Bucks. There's this weird thing happening with the Bucks right now where Giannis had this injury to his leg. They're calling it a hyperextension of his knee. Basically, his leg bent backwards. It bent the wrong way. Like, if you saw that, and you imagine that happening to you, you would be like, I feel like I wouldn't be able to walk for a year. But we don't treat these basketball players like human beings. We're just like, hey, we need you to ball. Or can you be ready in like 2 or 3 days? Like, the expectations are so high. Regardless of that, the Bucks are in the finals. And there's this crazy phenomenon going on where people are actually talking about the Bucks like they might be a better or more efficient, effective, winning basketball team without Giannis. And I'm sure the Bucks would tell you that that's crazy, but when they kind of smash the Hawks without Giannis, even when Trae Young comes back from his little foot problem, it does make you wonder, like, would Brook Lopez be able to score 30 on any given night if Giannis wasn't in the lineup? Would Middleton feel like, I don't know, more empowered, more entitled, more confident without Giannis out there on the floor, knowing that Giannis needs touches? Like, it's an interesting conversation to have, but I don't think anybody in Milwaukee would agree that they're better off without Giannis or they want to go to the NBA Finals without Giannis. Drew Holiday is going to be really important in this series because I believe that he's going to be Devin Booker's primary defender. We're definitely going to need Middleton to show up if we want a competitive series. He can't have these games where he'll go for or these stretches where he'll have a game where he drops like 35 and hits 5 threes, and then the next game he comes out and he scores like 14. You can't have that. Everybody needs to be consistent. Everybody needs to be on. What's really important, what I think is going to determine the series, like many other series, is simply the matchups. Who's going to guard who? Again, Drew Holiday's supposed to be on Devin Booker. Who's Devin Booker supposed to guard? Who's going to guard Chris Paul? Is it going to be somebody that's very tall, long, strong, is going to keep him from facilitating the offense the way that he wants to? And a lot of this depends on Giannis. Is Giannis going to be healthy? If he isn't healthy, how can the Suns take advantage of that in order to win? So here are my actual expectations for the series. I believe Giannis will come back in some capacity, but at the end of the day, I don't really think it's going to matter. Let's say Giannis doesn't play at all. I say the Suns win in like 5, honestly. I believe that they're extremely well coached. Mike Budenholzer, his tactics, his adjustments. Again, look, I'm not trying to say that I know anything more about basketball than anybody in the NBA, but sometimes the game plan for the Bucks, like with the amount of threes that they shoot, sometimes they have these lapses on defense. Like, how can we not stop Trae Young from scoring like 40-something points? I thought the Bucks were supposed to be this long, athletic, defensive team, and it just doesn't make sense how they let these people explode on them. Pause. So, my actual predictions, if Giannis isn't healthy, Suns in 5. I'm not like extremely confident in that, but I'm going to say probably 5. If Giannis does play, I think it could go 6, potentially even 7, but I just have a hard time believing that the Suns are going to get beat 4 times in this series. I just don't believe it. I don't think that the Bucks have the confidence and the experience. And look, the Suns don't have the experience either, but they do have Chris Paul's leadership and just the way that they play alongside him, the way that they put the ball in the basket after he gives it to him, the way that he facilitates the offense, the way that he's a captain on defense. It's just hard for me to imagine them losing. Speaking of losing, oh my God, if the Suns lose, Chris Paul would be absolutely devastated. You're never going to get a chance like this again. All these injuries, every single series that you play, somebody is injured on your path to the finals and in the finals. Like, you have to come through. And the next year, Chris Paul's 1 year older. Some people feel like they deserve more money. Some people on the Suns are probably going to leave. Like, the opportunity is golden. I honestly said, if Chris Paul loses this, I would just go ahead and retire. I'd be so disappointed, discouraged, and I know that's not going to happen, but I just think about it, man. Like, it's got to be so, I don't know. I don't even want to imagine it. But if the Bucks lose, like, somebody's got to go, and it's probably going to be Mike Budenholzer, which is sad, the coach for the Bucks. He's probably going to get fired, and it's, because they're not going to move off from Giannis. Like, he's their superstar. Like, they already made as many moves as they could, and I think that their team is built in a way that should be contending for a championship. But if Giannis isn't very healthy, or if Middleton underperforms, or something like that happens, they never usually blame the players. Like, the coach is going to have to go. It's unfortunate, but that's the fact. This would really, really change the trajectory of Giannis' career, because everybody has seen him as just this regular season superstar. If he wins the finals, and would probably win finals MVP, I think that would immediately put him up there with like the all-time greats. He's already back-to-back MVP. Not many people have that achievement. So if he gets a ring, like, we're going to start talking about Giannis in a very, very, very different light. And if Chris Paul wins, I think it will definitely cement him in a top 5 point guard conversation. I think he's already there, but not everybody's as smart as me. I'm playing. So, thank you for listening to me ramble about hoops. I hope I sounded at least a little bit informed. I mean, I've been following this stuff pretty closely. Like, I don't know if you can tell. I mean, my notes in front of me are really just to get me from one topic to the other. Like, I don't have any people's stats or statistics or their playing habits or like third level analytics. Like, I'm just a guy that just watches all the playoff games and keeps up with the narratives and the stories. And a lot of these players I've been following for years. I've seen Jay Crowder ball for years, Devin Booker, Chris Paul. I've been playing with Chris Paul on 2K for like a decade now. Like, the culmination of this is all very interesting, and I just think that it's awesome that we have this type of parity. Everybody kept saying they were so sick of seeing LeBron in the finals, the Warriors in the finals. Katie, I saw this crazy stat. It was like, since like the early 1990s, we haven't had a finals without like LeBron, Durant, Curry, Kobe, Jordan, Shaq. Like, it's always them. It's been like the same like 10 people for the last like 30 years that are in the finals. It's crazy. So I'm really excited for something new. I obviously, the fans in Phoenix and the fans in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Arizona, they're going crazy. They probably never thought they'd be here. So I think this is a great thing for the NBA. I'm looking forward to the matchup. If you're listening to this, you're probably watching the game tonight. I can't imagine why else you'd be listening to this. The only thing that I want to say about this series before I go, watch Devin Booker. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this session, Devin Booker is younger than I am, and it is absolutely astonishing to me that nobody's really been talking about the amount of pressure that's probably going to be on him. He's a kid. I mean, I should stop calling myself a kid. Like, I'm engaged, for God's sakes. But in the grand scheme of things, like as far as your whole life, 24 is like extremely young. And to have this amount of pressure on you, to have the world watching, millions watching every night, scrutinizing, live tweeting, every sports show, every day, every radio station, every television show, they're going to be talking about your performance, scrutinizing every single possession, every single play, every time you touch the ball, every time you pick up somebody on defense, every time there's a misassignment, every time you miss or make a shot, every time you miss or make a free throw. There's so much pressure. There's so much pressure. And it's really going to, I think it could alter the entire track of Devin Booker's career depending on how this game goes. So watch him closely. The expectations for him are so high. Like, if Devin Booker has a game where he doesn't score like 25 to 30 points, people are going to be like, oh God, he's folding, he's anxious, he's on the ropes, he can't do it, lights are too bright. But I think the lights will actually be a little bit too bright for the Bucks, which is why the title of this episode was not a deer in headlights, but Bucks in the sun's light. Phoenix in 5. This episode was made possible by Anchor. If you're listening to this episode on Spotify, please consider giving me a follow so you can be notified when I upload. If this ever ends up on Apple Podcasts, I'd really appreciate a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at Derapy Podcast or Instagram at Derapy_podcast. The intro music is by my brother, Damon Buxton. Outro music is by Lobo, and cover art is by my friend Nick Johnson. Thanks for listening. This has been Derapy.